Alright guys, last one, and I'm glad to be done with this. Cult of Chucky. Honestly, I don't even know how to begin with this movie. There were a lot of interesting ideas in this movie for the story. The idea of there being multiple Chuckies, all the same person, just because of one simple spell, was intriguing, even if it I don't want to say that it got tiresome, but it almost felt like a cop-out in some ways. But I thought it worked for the story for the most part. Much like Curse of Chucky, this movie really played up the idea of pulling all the movies together. This one had everything. It had Tiffany / Jennifer, because they basically become the same person now. It had Nika Pierce, and it was supposed to have Kyle in it. I did not see her, although I'm wondering if that was in a deleted scene, because I watched this on Netflix. I do not have the Blu-ray of it yet, so I don't know if there's a deleted scene or not. If there is, I may put an edit at the end of this. I may put a little ninja edit at the end of this. I'm going to look it up. I just don't have time at the moment to. But more importantly, Andy was finally brought back. And Andy became a badass. I'm not even going to lie. He went a little bit psycho, but he's kind of badass, and he had like 120 million guns in his house, which was pretty cool. But I think really the important thing for this one was the tone of the movie. It had a very interesting feel to it. The fact that it was set, first off, the fact that it was set in basically a mental asylum. And I gotta say, it was kind of nice to have some people that actually believed Nika, that Chucky was the one doing it. Even if those people were crazy, they still believed her. That was nice. Spent 6 movies with nobody believing anybody. Chucky did it. No, shut up. No, he didn't. He's just a doll. And they're like, yeah, well, Chucky obviously did it. I'm like, yeah, of course he did. It was just kind of nice to see. This was much like Curse of Chucky. This one was beautifully shot. Whoever it is that directed these, I don't know if I think it was actually Don Mancini, the writer, actually finally got a chance to direct. And he did these. Use of color was incredible. In Curse of Chucky, everything was very dark. All the colors were muted. Everything kind of had a gray, bluish tone to it. And I thought that it really worked with kind of the overall kind of somber feeling that he was going for. This one, there's so much black and white everywhere. Everything is black and white. I mean, color-wise, everything is black and white. Except for Chucky. Well, mainly except for the color red. But all the walls are white. All the lighting is white. Most of the inmates wear dark colors. The nurses are all wearing all white uniforms. It's like there's no color. I mean, I don't know if there was some sort of allegory about everything being black and white and, there being no exceptions or anything, whatever. That didn't matter. It looked amazing. I mean, truly, truly looked amazing. It was so interesting to watch. He used some different techniques. He used slow-mo technique once and used it to a beautiful effect in one of the kills. There was some split-screen perspectives going on. There was a lot of very interesting cinematography techniques, especially for a movie that was not being released in theaters. Somebody took their time and really made this movie look great. Cinematography was great. The directing was very good. The acting was surprisingly top-notch. Like, this movie was honestly a lot better than it should have been. And not just in the sense of me enjoying it as a movie and as a story. I felt there were some small issues with the story, but overall it was told very well. It was just there were some confusing aspects to it. But just in the technical side of it and the production side of it, this was a lot better than it probably had any right to be. They really busted their ass to really make something interesting with this one. And they did a fantastic job. The idea of there actually being a cult, a true cult of Chuckies, is a very interesting idea. The fact that Tiffany was behind all of it and had been setting all of it up was incredibly interesting. And the fact that all of it was done without the real original Chucky, the one that has died 5 times and has been reincarnated each time. That doll, that original doll from 1986 really has nothing to do with this. He's in it, but the thing is, it's become more than that. It's become the idea of Chucky. And the interesting thing is, all this stuff, it's still the same person. It's still Charles Lee Ray. It's still his soul that is possessing everybody, even if the original doll that he was put in is no longer anything. All it is a head with half his brain exposed, sitting in Andy's hunting cabin, nailed to a 2x4. It was amazing. Again, like I said, Andy became a little bit of a psychopath. And finally, I want to talk about the end. So, spoilers, I guess. Quite a twist that they threw at the end. The idea and the fact that Chucky finally transferred his soul to a human body. And I'm not even going to lie, I thought this entire movie was trying to set up that he was finally going to put his soul into Andy's body. And that would have been really messed up because Andy had already snapped and become a little bit of a psychopath. And he got really good with guns. But no. It was Nika. I really wasn't seeing that coming. I really, really wasn't. To be perfectly honest, I didn't even see a soul transfer being in this movie at all. I thought that they had abandoned that idea. You know? Because it's like it's mentioned less and less throughout. Especially after the birth of the kids and Seed of Chucky. And Curse of Chucky, he only mentioned it at the very end. They did not talk about it at all. They didn't talk about hide the soul at all this movie. It just comes out of nowhere. All of a sudden he said, It's just a small change in the thing where he says, Damballa, give me the power, which he says in every movie. That's the summoning of the voodoo power to be able to do what he needs to do. This time he said, give me all the power. And that's when I was like, wait, that's different. And then Nika stands up out of her wheelchair and she kills the doctor. And she's been possessed by Charles Lee Ray. And she locks Andy up in the insane asylum where everybody is dead. You gotta remember, there's like 9 dead bodies in there. And then she drives off with Tiffany. The real life Tiffany / Jennifer. With the Tiffany doll in the back seat. Again, this series kind of went somewhere weird. Gosh. Yeah, that was a twist ending that I did not see coming. And again, I am really curious as to whether there's an after credit scene, and I'm going to look that up. Again, I will edit that reaction in. I'm just running short on time for the moment. I'll do it tomorrow morning. So, Andy's in an asylum with all the dead bodies. Nika is being possessed by Chucky, and she actually became a killer. And yeah, that was a really, really fucked up ending. That's all I gotta say. That was really fucked up. So that's my review, I guess, of Cult of Chucky. I guess that's kind of a review. There are a lot of things I liked, and to be perfectly honest, it's probably... I don't want to say that it's the best one out of all of them, because I have to give that to the original Child's Play. I have to, because that's nostalgia in me, and that's part of my childhood. But it's definitely my favorite now. Absolutely. It was so weird, it was so confusing. Not confusing, it's really not confusing. It's just weird, and there's a couple of different things to try to keep track of, character-wise and things like that. But it had some great ideas. It had a lot of really interesting things thrown in. Everybody came back for it, and it had a hell of a twist ending that nobody saw coming. That you have to give it credit for that. And I do. I'm giving it a lot of credit for that. It was awesome. You know, go see it, rent it, watch it on Netflix. Doesn't matter. Probably going to be on YouTube pretty soon. It seems like they don't care. They just want people to see this movie, which is awesome. Now, before we end, I just kind of want to talk about the Chucky franchise in general. And I've reviewed every movie now. This is a franchise that holds a really special place for me. You know, there were a lot of horror franchises. This was kind of the first one that I was really introduced to. I saw Child's Play when I was younger. I really liked it. It actually really scared the piss out of me the first time I saw it when I was probably 9 maybe when I saw it for the first time. Because when I was younger, I actually had a My Buddy doll, which is what they based the Good Guy dolls off of. I had one that was apparently named Andrew. So, yeah, it kind of scared the piss out of me the first time I saw it. It was a little bit awkward. I don't think I had the doll anymore at the time. I might have, but I didn't have it for long after that because I lost a lot of my stuffed animals when I was younger. We had a flood. But this is a franchise that has been, even with tonal shifts and storyline shifts and some slight retconning of a lot of things, this is a franchise that has stayed consistent in a lot of things. Honestly, the story is very consistent throughout. There's only one small thing, and that is where Tiffany fits into the timeline. Because we know Charles Lee Ray, when he kidnapped Nika's parents, or he killed it was friends with Nika's parents, ended up kidnapping her mom, ended up stabbing her in the belly, which caused Nika to have her paralysis. And then, like, literally right after that, he runs into the toy store, and that's where the beginning of the original movie picks up. So we don't know where Tiffany fits into that. That's the only question that I always had. But the storyline has been consistent. You know, even when it feels like they're forgetting about the past, if you just wait till the next movie, they're not. They're going to remind you. You know, I mean, we went for like 14 years before we saw Andy again, and then he pops back up at the end of Curse of Chucky and was like, hey, I'm still alive. Not only that, but it was consistent with two other things. A, Don Mancini wrote every single one of these films. And Brad Dourif starred in all of them as Chucky. And in the later ones, he was actually able to give some creative insight and got some sense of creative control with Don Mancini. They basically took over the franchise. But Don Mancini is the creator of this franchise. He wrote every one of them. He created the idea of Chucky, and he has written and he has stayed with the franchise. That is a consistency that you do not find, especially in horror franchises. You never find that. You know, there's only few exceptions with that. Maybe Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. You know, he was Freddy Krueger in every movie. That is another exception, but the writers of those movies, it was a different writer for every movie. Look at the Halloween franchise. John Carpenter did 1 and 2, and they are perfect. They're beautiful. And then a whole bunch of other people started taking over the writing task. It's just a level of control over your property that you don't see very often. And I think that is what makes this franchise stand the test of time. Because these movies really do stand up. Yes, the old ones are dated. Everything is. Any movie from the 80s, it's gonna feel dated in some ways. But it's still these are good horror movies. And not only good horror movies, but they're good movies. 1 and 2 especially, incredibly well-made movies. 3 was Bride of Chucky was okay. Seed of Chucky was, like I said, better than I remembered, but still These 2 new ones are fantastic. There's a level of quality in this franchise that has stayed with it. Even when the movies aren't as good as any of the other ones, they're still enjoyable. So I would say that this franchise is probably held up better than any other horror franchise that I can think of. And I've seen most of the main ones. Because again, I love horror movies. So if you haven't seen these movies in a while, pop one in. Feel some nostalgia. Go back to the original. If you haven't seen if you've seen some of the old ones but haven't seen the newer ones, check out Curse of Chucky and Cult of Chucky. They're really, really great. And believe they're both on Netflix, and you can watch the 2 of those and not have to completely remember all the old ones. You're going to get caught up. Thanks for sticking with me through 7 reviews for these. At least it wasn't as bad as last year when I did 20-something. But yeah, it is October 24th today. Yes, it's October 24th. We have 1 week till Halloween. I have 4 more videos to upload, and I'm going to be working on them. I'm about to upload one right now, and they're all going to be coming to you. So, I mean, by the time you see this one, you'll have them all. But I just want to let you know where I'm at. I got a week left. They're going to be coming over the next 2 days. So, I hope you guys have a happy Halloween. I hope you have fun, but don't have too much fun. Because when you have too much fun on Halloween, you get in trouble. Next time.